welcome. Welcome today and good morning. It's time for Trudy and Friends. I'm Trudy Haynes, and we have with us Kathy Lee, the original, Jerome Roberts, the man about town, and Gary Williams. Oh, I changed you too. No, you're not the man about town. You're the Gator, and Gary Williams is the man about town. So we're all here. That's the main thing. And we've got a big discussion coming up today. And I know you want to hear all about it because it's still with us after a year and a half, COVID. So here it is, and we're going to talk about it because we'd like to know how you feel, if you had any changed feelings about it since it's lasted so long. And it looks like it's going to be with us for at least another year. So let's get started with some ideas and some thoughts about COVID going into 22. Okay, how about it,
Well,
gang?
Miss Trudy, if I can interject, there's a video. It's done by a Dr. Christina Parks, and she's a PhD molecular and cell biologist out of Michigan, and she spoke to the Michigan legislature about the experimental nature of these COVID vaccines. And if you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
I certainly will, but what is she saying?
Well, she's just talking about the experimental nature and the highest number, one of the highest percentage of people who are not taking the vaccine are PhDs. So it's like the
Really?
smartest people who know about these things, they have some of the highest incidence of not getting the vaccine. So she didn't come out pro or con, but you could tell where she was leaning. It's an
Uh,
experiment. It's the
oh,
largest experiment in public health history.
well, with that in mind, Gary, when we first started talking about COVID among ourselves, you were kind of hesitant about it. And one of the things that we have to do is to get clear understanding about different things and different phases of this epidemic that has, well, it stopped us dead in our tracks. So, how do you feel today? What do you feel about
Well, what happens is it was too much controversy, number one. They started out with telling us that the seniors' immune system was compromised and that people who had ailments were subject to getting the COVID first. Then you had number 45 in charge of the country telling people they don't need to wear masks, yada, yada, and all this stuff. And then he got COVID and he got well. And then you had them talking about the teenagers that their immune system was strong enough and they didn't need to have the shot. Then you had them talk about the women that were pregnant and the babies need to get the shot. And now they're going through a change where they're not saying that they're ready to do it to the infants yet or the babies yet because they don't know what dosage to give them. So, they're dancing around a whole bunch of things as far as with people's lives with this shot, but they really don't have any tangible proof of what's happening, but they're saying that it's working and they're saying that people aren't going to the hospital. Maybe people are taking other methods. Like there was a one where somebody was shooting elephants, something, some kind of elephant medicine or something for animals, because they said, well, they'd rather do that than to do the COVID shot because there was so much controversy. So this is a track record of stuff that has been happening to lead people to not want to do, and then have had people that had the first shot, and when they started hearing a bunch of other stuff, they said, "Well, I'm not taking the second shot." And then you had where Pfizer produced another shot that they approved. I think they approved this one quicker than they approved the original two shots, and now they got that on the market. And then you got Pfizer on the radio the other day stating that how much money they made from the COVID vaccine that they bought another company. So it's
Okay, all
it's
that's
like
well and good.
money.
Gary,
Wait, let
I'm
me
sorry.
finish. Let me
I'm
finish.
sorry.
Let
No,
me
no,
let me
no, no,
finish.
no. I'm not going to let you and Jerome started off with a whole lot of stuff. None of us are doctors on the show. Full disclosure. We are not qualified to sit here and push videos and all these other kinds of things like that. I think it's a very dangerous thing to do. I think people need to go to the sources that they need to go to, the CDC, and find out things. And you're talking about the ivermectin, and it's for horses. But apparently, there are a lot of asses out there that think they are Mr. Ed. Now, if they want to be Mr. Ed and take a shot, go ahead and do it. Take your ivermectin. I just do not think we should promote um, um, uh, uh, a lot of stuff that's being
Television and
pushed along the internet. It is irresponsible, in my opinion. I think people taking the vaccine, it's a personal choice whether or not they want to do it. However, if you don't want to take the vaccine, fine. You don't want to wear a mask, I got a problem. Because they're talking about personal freedoms and freedom, but you don't have a right to tell me as a retired teacher that I can't tell my students to mask up to protect each other. And there are so many things. You're right, Gary. There's a whole lot of confusion going on, and there are a whole lot of people pushing a whole lot of things. I mean, come on, Clorox, drink bleach. Come on, let's get serious on this show. We have to be responsible. People need to go to responsible sources to find out what they need to know and to do to protect themselves. I protect my
well,
immune
what
system. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Kathy, you're right
Right.
because one of the
And
things.
you
Wait a minute, Gary, hold it.
yeah.
One of the
Mhm.
things that has been stressed this week that I've been listening to is that we need clear understanding, clear goals that we have to follow, where everybody's mixed up. Now you have the children confused and the babies confused and the mothers confused. Now they're going back to work and I mean back to school, and people don't know what to do to save them and to protect them.
They
So that
they
so
do, Trudy.
you're on the
They
right.
do know what to do. They know what to do, Trudy. It's wear a mask. They know what to do. They refuse to do it. That's basically what the challenge is. They refuse
So
to
Yeah.
do it. All they got to
what are
do is
you
put a mask
suggesting?
on. Put a
Yeah.
mask on.
But
You
okay,
can't tell
that's true.
people, the governor can't ban masks. In fact, it was just kicked out of court.
But
People
we've
need,
Right.
got
there's a
it
war
there.
on
It's a
science in this
crisis for the
country.
whole
There's a
The
country.
war on
the
science.
It's a
you
crisis for
know,
the whole country.
well, what I'm just saying, the mask thing, I have no problems. I'm not saying to take the shot or not to take the shot. What I'm giving you information is that the fact that there's too much controversy about taking it or not taking it, which Jerome is saying the same thing. There's people out there, and these are people that do choose not to take the shot, just like you stated. You have a choice. So therefore, you make that choice. Now, um, yeah, they got they
I
telling
disagree with
the
all
city
of you.
work they
Wait a
telling
minute
the
now.
city workers you will lose your job. You will lose your job if you don't take the shot in New York City by September deadline date. Now,
Mhm.
that's a constitutional thing. Now,
Gary,
they're telling the city workers here that all you have to do is wear two
Gary,
masks
hold it.
to keep your job.
This is
I
not
mean,
an individual.
really?
I disagree with all of you. This is not an individual thing. This is a matter of life and death for not only this country, but the whole world. And I
Mhm.
think there should be some clear understanding, and it should be a command, Like you tell people to go and shoot the enemy, I think there should be a command: protect yourself against this enemy.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
I have
Well,
finished.
I like the
and
way you said that, Trudy.
one of the key things to do, Ms. Judy, is wear a mask.
Yeah.
Whether you're
I
Definitely.
vaccinated
agree.
or not, wear
I
a
mean,
mask.
Yeah.
that's not a chemical or something that's going to harm you, but it's something that may protect everyone. And so the least you can do as a command to your country and to your life and to your community is to wear a mask.
But
Right.
wear it
I,
correctly. Wearing it like
All right. Now
wearing
that
it
might
below
be
your nose is not the correct way. You must protect your ACE2 receptors. Your ACE2 receptors, your main ones are your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. This Delta variant is classified as a variant of concern, and that means that public action is needed, notification to proper sources are needed, more testing, more regional offices, and people need to know where to go get the monoclonal antibodies that that governor of Texas got when the minute he had the first symptoms. But you have to get the correct mask. You need an N95 mask that covers all of this, and it needs to be tight. In other words, I have a face shield and I have N95 masks. Even though I'm vaccinated, I don't go out without my mask and the proper protection. Jump in here, Jerome.
No, I'm the same way. I have N95 mask and I'm vaccinated. And, I decided to do the vaccination because I didn't want to hear anything about my travels. I just came back from Georgia. I spent a month in Georgia. And when I first got down there, a lot of people were not wearing masks. When I left a month later, most Georgians were now wearing masks because the numbers in Georgia were skyrocketing. So
And what
people
Trudy was
started
talking
to
about
wear
is
masks.
self-inflicted. It's self-inflicted.
Not,
Yeah.
This is all a
no,
self-inflicted wound in this country. It just really
yeah,
is. If people put
not,
the
not,
mask on you,
yeah.
what's your name? I forgot your name.
No.
It doesn't even matter. If people were following the mask, you wouldn't need to have vaccination cards. No one would be telling someone that you have to get the shot if they exercise common sense. But common sense just ain't so common in most Western cultures. That's just been my experience. I'm just saying.
What's the
And they've been
purpose of
Sorry,
the
already.
Gary.
vaccination?
Sorry, Gary.
What's the purpose of the vaccination cards? I really don't get it. If you got vaccinated, you're vaccinated. What's the purpose? What is this becoming a totalitarian government where you have to show that you've been done something, or you have to have it like you have to have a passport? And restaurants in New York now, they're demanding that people show them that they have a vaccination card. Now they have a lawsuit going out with the city of New York where the mayor's being sued because the restaurants are suing them based on the fact that they demanding that people show vaccination card. What's that all
Well,
about?
again,
They
it's
better look into these
self-inflicted.
countries. Listen, folks, they better look into these countries who've been wearing masks for years to protect themselves. So that
And
the mask is just a piece of a garment that can protect your life. There's nothing
mhm,
chemical about it. And it
mhm,
should be in order. That's the way
mhm.
I
But
feel about
Gary, I agree. But
Now,
Gary, the
now, now,
problem
let
is
me let me
this: it's
interject
the
this. Dr.
it's the
Fauci, Dr.
variants.
Fauci, Dr. Fauci wrote a paper based on the Spanish flu, and he stated that the mask wearing people, that when they were using the mask to cover their faces, that the bacteria in the mask itself caused bacterial infections in people's lungs. This is a paper by Dr. Fauci written in
it. Yes, and Kathy
1963 or
already
somewhere
explained
around
this.
there based on that. Now,
Like that.
I'm not, it's not the wearing of the mask, it's the care of the mask. When you wear your mask, when I wear my mask, I come inside the house, I spray with vinegar, I let it dry, I wash it out. I've seen people sit their masks on tables. I've seen people sit their masks here and there. I've seen people that may have not even washed their mask. Each time you wear a mask, it should be a different mask every day that you wear that mask so that the bacteria doesn't build up. So if you're going to wear it, which I wear a mask, then you should care for the mask that you're wearing. And that's another
I
thing
think
that
the most important thing is
they're not telling people everything about wearing a mask. Just wear the mask. But what about the care of the mask? What about that? What about the bacteria buildup in the mask?
right,
You
right.
gotta know these things too.
Yes, and we have to
You
be
know,
responsible for our own lives. The man in charge should say wear masks for the whole country. That should be a
Mhm.
command. Then it's up to
Right.
us to follow that the best we can by cleaning it, by keeping ourselves clean, and girls, we don't have to wear lipstick. That's the one thing you've learned from wearing your mask. But that is the one thing we can all do without controversy, without worrying. And I think that we as a group should, you know, apply that to ourselves and to others. Wearing a mask. Is everyone in accord with that?
I
Yes.
am, but I'll tell you one thing: if if these what happens with these new variants, the viral load is strong, is larger and larger and larger. And
Yeah.
because the people in this country politicized it, like Gary said, and went all off the deep end about all of this nonsense about, wearing a mask, my freedoms. That's the reason why the Delta is surging in this country. And what's happening now is more and more children. And within 2 months, it went from children all the way down from children from ages 18 to 12, and now it's down to kids 2 years old getting COVID in hospitals, all because the masks aren't being worn or people are electing not to get vaccinated. But, they also finding out, this is a whole new thing. We've never really dealt with this with the scientific knowledge that we have today, as with the Spanish flu. And so things are rapidly changing and they're learning on the cuff. And I'll admit that. And I don't know that for sure, but that's my understanding. But Western hesitancy is very huge, especially in America, and American exceptionalism. The only thing American exceptionalism has proved is that we're just as helpless as a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. And we are getting our butt kicked.
And
Huh?
that's
Okay.
why I'm going to suggest one more time that look up Dr. Christina Parks and her speech at the Michigan legislature, and your eyes will be opened a lot.
Well, that's a good way to end this part of the discussion, and we'll be right back. And we're back with Trudy and Friends. The friends are still here, and we'll have to go on some facts that you may not know, or maybe you do know, and you can help and join in with us at a time. But here we are with, we need to know more about our history. For instance, I am a part of history, and it's now. So these friends of mine, they have something about what happened before now. So let's have it, gang. Who's first? Kathy, you're our
Hey,
historian. You're our teacher.
No, it's Jerome, Trudy. I'm going to go
Jerome,
yeah,
last.
I'll go, Miss Judy.
you're going to go last. Okay, that's all right, because both of you, as far as I'm concerned, are better than I am. So go ahead, Jerome.
Well, thank you, Miss Trudy. And the person I wanted to talk about is Nathan Nearest Green. He was an African American head distiller and a master distiller. He's the one who created Jack Daniels. He was born into slavery and he was emancipated after the Civil War, but he taught Jack Daniels, who was working for another distiller, he taught Jack Daniels how to make Tennessee whiskey. And it was some of the best. And then Jack Daniels left the company that he was working for and started his own company with Nathan Green. And he was one of the first African American master distillers on record. He was one of the first master distillers on record in America. Nathan
Well,
Nearest Green.
you fellas did like Jack Daniels. We'll honor that when you have the next ring, huh? Kathy,
Absolutely.
Hey,
And you know, the
you're
people at Jack
Jerome,
Daniels, yeah, the people at Jack Daniels will admit that it was Nathan Nearest Green that did what he did, that helped create the Jack Daniels brand as we know it. Yes, Kathy Lee.
didn't they give the
oh no,
family some
Gary
money now
did it.
after they recognized that? I was asking him a
Yes, I
question.
think they might have made a contribution or something. But like I
Yeah,
said,
Gary.
the people at Jack Daniels now admit that it was Nathan Nearest Green who did most of the work.
Gary,
Oh
you.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to go back to doing the slavery. Well, they call it slavery. I call it captives. But I'm going to go back to the times where we had to create certain inventions because of the fact that we had to get the labor done in a specific time because the quote master required us to do certain things. So, the cotton gin, um, the clothespins were created by us. The iron board, you know, the clothesline. So a lot of these things are created by us, and a lot of people might not even know because they use them every day. So I'm just going with the survival things that we had to use in order to survive on the quote plantation in order to get things done. So there's no dates that I can give, but I know that they still exist today. So I'm going with some of those things.
Well, I'm going to jump in here before Kathy because I know she's got a whopper, but I remember meeting some part of our history, and that was Mr. Carver. Can't remember his first name of the who discovered the peanuts. And peanuts, and peanuts are very a part of our life today. In fact, I was just told by my doctor that I have to eat more peanuts in order to gain some weight. So we're still not only remembering but living our history, and that's very important. And we've got a lot of history right here in Philadelphia. I don't know, Kathy, if that's going to be your subject, but go ahead, you take it.
No, I have chosen female power, and I have chosen Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson, who was born 1946. She was the first African American female to earn a PhD in physics from MIT in 1973, a typical child progeny. So now, if you really want to know who's calling you, you want to not answer that phone, then you have to thank this sister for caller ID and call waiting. She is a phenomenal person. She's the first African American to chair the Nuclear Regulation Commission. She's also, her research has led to solar cells, touch-tone televisions, optical physics. She knows quantum physics, and she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. She was honored by the first African American president, Barack Hussein Obama, and I just love saying that man's whole name. But she's a professor at Rutgers, the last time I checked, and she worked for Bell Labs from 1976 to 1992 when she came up with all of these wonderful little things that we now use for our little convenience. And that's basically all I can tell you about Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. She is just a modern telecommunications pioneer using theoretical physics. I don't think I could even spell theoretical. In fact, I know I can't spell theoretical.
Well, I have a part of history that at least I played a part in it. I didn't do anything, but I was there when President Truman came to Europe to separate the services so that they wouldn't have to be segregated while they were there. And I saw him, and I was there when it happened. I was working with the special services when he came to Europe and Germany and made that announcement. So I was a part of that. And I'm also a part of history because I'm older than any of you. So there.
Hey, Trudy,
it is a pleasure to work with you. I wasn't even born then, so I'm not even going to go there.
What about Latimer? What about Latimer? Every time you pull your switch on your light, L.H. Latimer created the invention of the light bulb or the electric lamp. Yeah, and that was in 1882.
Yeah,
So every time you pull your light switch, and the important thing about the invention piece is that we weren't allowed patents. So there's things on the books that are listed under other people's names that we would have to go further research. And what I suggest to the audience is to research some of these things based on things that were created, that were stolen and patented by someone else.
Right. They're very important, and it's surprising. I think it gives you a little lift when you hear these things about people that a lot of people don't know about, me included. So keep them coming, and we'll be doing these at the end of most of our discussions, and we'll be back each week to tell you more interesting things about our history. So, any last thoughts from anyone? Let's go.
Know your history.
Wear your mask. Social distance. Be patient. Wear your mask.
Research.
Be patient.
Research. Learn about your history and respect yourself.
Okay. good work.
and others.
Thanks for coming.
And others. Definitely. Do we have to have dates?
Gary,
Because we might not
Gary,
know
you
dates.
gave
But we
your
not.
inventions last week. You said the clothespin and something else.
Yeah, but we don't have to have dates.
Well, honey, I don't know what you have.
No, I'm
Let's
saying
talk
how
about it.
we.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
So
And 3,
So he can.
smile, Miss Trudy. You good,
Can
Jerome?
you everybody hear me? I'm
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to go.
Okay.
And 3, cut.
cut. Okay. Candy. Wait, what am I supposed to say? Cut.